Hello, my name is Kyle Cathell, and I would like to refute the claim that milk consumption fails to improve the health of the average adult consumer. My opponent had three supporting claims. First, dietary benefits of milk end once a person has left the infant stage. Second, there is no significant relationship between milk consumption and bone strength. And third, milk's high calorie content contributes to nationwide obesity. I would like to begin with a counterclaim to his first secondary claim that milk continues to benefit a person's health once they have left the infant stage. A study in 2000 by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that 53% of those studied showed no significant bone health improvement from milk, but neither did they show a health detriment, meaning that their bone strength was completely unaffected by milk. Conversely, 42% of those studied showed a strong, favorable benefit in terms of calcium excretion and skeletal mass enrichment. The remaining 5% of people showed an unfavorable reaction to milk, but were found to be lactose intolerant. I would like to exclude those who are lactose intolerant because arguing the health benefits of milk to those who cannot digest it is a moot point. White women under the age of 30 have been found to strongly benefit from milk consumption as it helps to combat osteoporosis later in life. Osteoporosis is difficult to treat and once it has already begun, and milk is a preventative measure for this. My opponent argued that there is no significant relationship between milk consumption and a reduction in hip fractures, but this is not the only measure of skeletal enrichment. Nutritious is defined as being nourishing or efficient as food by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Milk is high in calories, calcium, vitamin D, proteins, carbohydrates, and antioxidants, making it a highly efficient food source for people of all ages. My second counterclaim is that there is a significant relationship between milk consumption and bone strength. As mentioned earlier, white women under the age of 30 have been shown to significantly benefit from milk consumption as a means to combat osteoporosis later in life. A study by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that men 60 years and older showed significantly increased BMD, or bone mineral density, as a result of milk consumption. Black men were found to benefit more than white men, and women were not shown to benefit greatly from dairy consumption postmenopausal. A 1999 study by the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found an increase in insulin-like growth factor binding protein with a decrease in bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, showing an overall positive result on skeletal mass and BMD. Subjects studied were men and women of various races aged 55 to 85 years. My final counterclaim is that milk's high-calorie content plays very little role in adult obesity. My opponent's original claim specified health benefits of the average adult consumer, but his secondary claim involving obesity specified nationwide statistics, which is a narrow view of the average adult. According to Public Health England, the U.S. is the leading country in terms of obesity amongst adults. 35% of the U.S. population is obese, as opposed to 3.5% for Japan. Japan consumes, on average, as much, if not more, milk per day than the U.S. and maintains a national obesity level 1/10 of that of the U.S. Many European countries average a national obesity level of 10% while maintaining very large quantities of milk consumption per day. My point here is that milk is not necessarily connected to obesity despite its high calorie content. Any chemical in the right quantity is dangerous, including water and oxygen, and milk is no exception. Milk's high caloric level is not detrimental to human health unless consumed in large quantities. The daily recommended level of milk consumption is 244 grams, which equates to 102 calories. This is 1/20th the suggested daily caloric intake and amounts to 9 ounces of milk. A single 12-gram chocolate chip cookie, which is less than 5% the weight of a 9-ounce cup of milk, is 57 calories, with over 50% of those calories coming from fat. Dipping 2 of these cookies into a glass of milk as a snack more than doubles the caloric content of the milk. Thinking that milk is healthy and therefore consuming an unhealthy amount of it is not a reflection on the health qualities of milk, but rather an issue in the psychology of the consumer. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate my 3 counterclaims to my opponent. First, that milk continues to benefit human health even beyond the infant stage. Second, there is a significant relationship between a person's bone strength and the amount of milk they consume daily. And third, milk plays very little role in the level of obesity amongst adults worldwide. Thank you.
All right, Kyle, you basically go at this in a very direct way. The main proposition is labeled, the secondary claims are pointed out, and then basically you're just going to present counterclaims on each of those points. I think it's reasonable because you did a good job developing evidence on those particular points. I mentioned in several other speeches earlier on that I think it would be helpful to have a little bit more contrast to the evidence that the advocate's presenting, and I think that would help you on your arguments as well. But I do think that you did a good job presenting proof for the claims that you're presenting. So on the first point, for instance, when you're talking about the health effects for bones, I think that you've got 2 or 3 sources that you cite that talk about the benefits there. You give us a reason why we should exclude people for which it had no particular benefit, and then you had some particulars where it does have a very specific benefit. So I thought that that was okay. The claim that hip fractures is not the only factor in bone structure or density issues, I thought that was the closest that you got to a direct response to a claim that the advocate was making on those points, other than the, like I said, the counterclaim argument that you've got. And I think you need to show us, for instance, how the measures that you're using in this particular study are more useful and more practical for more people than just, hip fractures. The second point on the counterclaim, it's basically back to milk and bone structure again. And again, you have some good counterclaims here with the evidence that you have that's overwhelmingly strong in your favor. What you need to do, like I said, is contrast that to the evidence that the advocate cited. If we're still dealing with that one study that they cited, and now you basically can put it down to, we've got 4 different studies that found several groups each benefited specifically from the consumption of milk, versus one study that the advocate's presenting that showed that there was no significant difference for one group, and the other group, they couldn't tell yet. They didn't really have any data on it. I think if you were contrasting the information that's being presented here, that this argument seems to be more sound, and that's the way I think that you would sell it a little bit more. Although I think you do a very good job, like I said, of selling the argument. You're very forceful when you're expressing it, and I don't think you have any hesitation in taking the claims, with stating your claim, and that's one of the things that I think benefits the argument quite a bit. That and the research that you did there. I thought you also had an excellent summary of the argument at the end. All right, thank you.